ready?
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's roll. All right, welcome to another episode of the Greatness Podcast, brought to you by Sky Insurance Brokers. I'm Eric Scholey, and with me, as always, is
Megan May.
Yeah, and today we're on site at Placer County Association of Realtors, so this is nice.
Yeah.
And we have the pleasure of having our guest, the man of the hour, is Kevin McDonald. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, so I've been trying to track down Kevin for a little while, so I'm very excited to get him on the show. And for this conversation is going to be based around, obviously, the market of real estate. And I was talking to a lot of my friends in the industry, and I was like, who would be a great person to talk to? And multiple people brought your name up. So I said, okay, this is the guy I got to try to get for this episode. So I'm happy we're able to make it work.
That's amazing. I didn't know they thought that way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're thought very highly by your peers. So thank you for coming to the show. I always like to start off the shows just with a background intro of yourself. So just for the listeners, share a little bit about yourself, your background, what you like to do, if you like long walks on the beach,
right?
Drinking Mai Tais, whatever. So
Pina coladas.
Yeah, pina colada. Do you like pina colada? Yeah, so share anything you like.
All right. Well, I've been in this business for 18, going on 19 years. And
seasoned veteran.
Yeah, it was starting off, it was a hot market, 2004, and I got thrown into it, and it's almost like sink or swim. You have to do it, you know. So it was busy for multiple years, and then something happened, market stopped,
Yes,
so
remember it well.
Yeah, I basically got through that downtime, and coming out of it, it's worked out pretty well. But really, I've been married for 11 years now, and we're very happy with living in Loomis, and very involved in the Loomis, what is it? Chamber, and then also
events,
also
Community.
other events. I've been involved a lot with Placer County Association of Realtors. In 2018, I was the president.
Fantastic.
And really, I'm here to be a partner to everyone in this business, and love what I do.
That's
Nice.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. So funny story about Kevin. So him and I really don't know each other too well, but I know of him very well because, as most people know, Loomis is my hometown.
Yep.
I've grew up there, went to all the schools. My kids actually go to schools right now. I have a daughter who's starting Del Oro next year, so I'm going to that phase of my life.
That's right.
But forever, it seemed like Kevin knew everyone I knew and everyone I didn't know in Loomis. I actually thought you were like the mayor of Loomis for a while. Like I thought you were like a political person because he was in like every Facebook post. He was at every event. And I was like, man, this guy is hustling. So when I finally met you a few years back and found out you were, a realtor, I was just like, man, this guy's doing it right because he is giving back and he's out there and he's very connected, but he's also he's present.
Yeah.
He's present in the community, and I think that is so important for real estate agents to do. So I applaud you on that. And like I said, it's you do work very hard, and you are involved in a lot of things, which is fantastic.
Mayor Kevin McDonald has a nice ring to it.
Hey, it's been brought up, maybe 10 years from now, because getting into politics, it doesn't bode well for real estate, because
you just be a very specialized market. You would definitely have to entrench yourself in one avenue there. Yeah.
someone always hates you, and you have the loudest voice. But,
Exactly. That'd be great. I'll get on your campaign team if you're doing that. That'd be fantastic.
We've been investing for a while though too, and one reason you see me all over Loomis is we have that office building downtown Loomis, and the brew coffee shop and all that. So it's a lot of fun being there right downtown across from the Blue Goose, and being involved and showing a presence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's really, I always get excited to see, especially over the last 5 or 6 years since, the gastropub went in and Gander, and you're just seeing kind of this revitalization of downtown Loomis. The restaurants are coming back in, the coffee shop.
The garages now.
What's that?
The garages down.
Yeah, no, exactly. And they finally redid that. And I just think Loomis has always had this place here in this, Roseville, Sacramento area as being a very unique place that if someone had a good vision, it could be something incredible. And I think it's starting to transform into that.
Yep.
And I'm very excited. It almost reminds me of like a Danville or something, in the Bay Area where you can get some nice little shops and just nice places to eat and drink and have a good time.
It's got the best little downtown there.
It does.
Lit up at night or during the day, it doesn't matter. But, from High Hand all the way down to the Blue Goose, it's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you've ever seen Downtown Street in fall with all those trees, it's a pretty incredible picture. It looks like Norman Rockwell or something.
I grew up in Placerville, so it's
Very
similar, that
similar.
old
Yep.
old school.
Out there, though.
Oh, please.
Running
But
joke.
similar.
I would say they live way out there. Yeah, the Highway 50 corridor.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So so 18 years. So you've been on a good run this last decade, but obviously, like you said, that 07, 08, 09 was a pretty rough time.
Yes.
And I always say, the real estate agents that are seasoned veterans that have been through that, they're prepared for really any marketplace, including the good ones that we've had as of late. So another personal note, any kids or anything like that? You grew up in this area, right?
Yeah. Wife and I decided no kids,
Okay, fantastic.
so dual income, no kids. We're having a lot of fun out there.
living
and-
life.
That's great.
Hence why you're able to be basically at every event ever
Yes,
ever in
exactly.
Loomis.
That's
yes.
why I'm so present.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic.
Have fur babies. We have
Okay.
a cat and
Nice.
2 dogs.
Nice.
And
Nice.
thinking about, we have 5 acres, and we're thinking about getting some animals of some sort that eat grass.
Okay.
So we're trying to find
Going the
people
farm
that
life.
just want to store their animals on
Yeah.
our property so we can look at them, but we
Yeah.
don't have
There you go.
to
Take care of them.
maintain them, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
That's
No, that's
perfect.
great.
Best
Yeah.
of both
And you
worlds.
grew up in this area as well?
Auburn.
Oh, okay.
It went to Bear River.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
I was Del Oro, so
yeah, you say that with a smile.
I did.
We had a little
We had fun
rivalry.
Only a
against you
little
guys, yeah.
little friendly competition.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was great growing up there, and then moved down to the Rockland area after high school, basically, and just been here ever since.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did you do before real estate?
I was in various industries.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I worked right out of high school for some car dealerships,
Okay.
as far as not selling cars, but doing either detail work or parts driving and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I went into more of a corporate type position, which I was there for about 4 or 5 years, and I realized that all these people that have been there for 30 plus years were getting laid off. And I went, why am I going to put my heart and soul into something and then have them lay me off when I'm just about to retire or whatever, and just because I'm the highest paid or whatever
Yeah.
it would be. So I quit. I went back into a restaurant job. I started taking my real estate license test, but really during that period of time, I was almost interning for another real estate office, where it was a paid internship, but I was doing telemarketing actually.
Oh, okay.
In like 01, 02, 03.
Yeah.
But it was
Earning your stripes.
it was fun.
Yeah.
That's what you do to really get your confidence level up.
Sure.
Because when you're getting no's all the time, you lead into, okay, how do I get them to say yes? And it really helped my real estate career going forward with knowing how to overcome objections.
Yeah, and just deal with different personalities and all the above, and really
Yep.
just get a thicker skin too, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
it's really got to be in sales. You have to have that. So
Exactly. I was going to school during that time as well and taking more specialized courses, but got my real estate license in, basically late 03, and then 04 I started really moving forward with it.
Okay.
And like I said, it was sink or swim.
Yep.
I was with an office that nobody wanted to work with buyers. They just all had listings, and I went, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'll take the buyers.
Here's an
And
opportunity.
I was literally first in the office, last one to leave,
Yep.
working on the weekends, and hustling to come out ahead and get. I knew I had to build my clientele, because if the market did slow, I'd have people to go back to.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great. What was there something that drew you to the real estate industry, other than like you were talking about, not being stuck in a corporate job where you could work there for 30 years and get axed because they found someone younger or cheaper? But was there something that actually drew you to the real estate industry, or a person maybe?
there were 3 people in my life that they were all doing loans, and during that period of time, people were that were doing loans, you'd see them with these fancy
Oh, yeah.
cars and, all this cool stuff. And I learned that, I don't want to compete with these people. I want to be an asset to them. I want to be able to work with them and give them leads and then, maybe receive leads from them. But so I decided to go on the real estate side.
Okay.
But, the people, the influences that got me into this, really, they were all in the lending industry. And then I met people that were doing the real estate side. And I said, okay, I really do like this side better. I did one loan in my career. It was when you could do both and all that. And I hated it. It was the worst. I was sitting there shuffling paperwork and, trying to overcome objections on interest rates and all this other stuff. And I just went, let me just go sell houses. It's so much better.
You knew your strengths early on.
Yes. Yeah.
No, that's
Smart.
great. That is smart. That's opportunistic too.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you said, you were looking at being the buyer's agent at first. Obviously, you leverage your relationships in the mortgage industry, and were able to get a nice start in the real estate.
Yeah, and I realized it was abnormal income. I mean, it's ups and downs and so forth. But I at the time when I was starting, I was 23 years old, and I didn't need much. So if I made a $8,000 check, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
this can support me for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
but it's been nice to be able to work those ups and downs and get, I've been working towards more of a consistent business where regardless I'm closing stuff each month and it's not so much the ups and downs.
Yeah,
So,
more stabilized model.
yeah.
No, that's good. So one question I like to ask individuals, and I know it's been 18 years, but reflecting, what is something you learned or something you would tell a brand new agent in their first year or 2 years that they've got to focus on or a mindset just to really help them succeed? Because you touched on something earlier that I was like, oh, it clicked in my head, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
It's not easy.
Okay.
Don't think it's going to be easy. Don't look at people that have been doing it a long time and think that you're going to be there in a year or two.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes working harder than the people that have been doing it for a long time. I see the mindset of a lot of new agents, even younger agents that are coming into this, and they think that this is something that they can just jump right into and they're going to be driving a Mercedes next month. Don't overload your bills right now. Work very slim. Don't go out there and pay for a marketing budget, before you're doing these open houses and stuff to get, free clientele essentially. So I think you need to work harder, in the first 3 years. After that 3-year mark, it gets a lot easier because you're going to have repeat clientele. But learn ways to get your name out there and to get clientele without spending money.
Right.
That's something I did, and then as I got the marketing budget, I was able to put more towards it. But I think that people just need to know that it's boots on the ground and getting out there and hustling and treating it like a job too.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you go back to work and you get a 9-to-5 job, you are there 9 to 5. This may be a job where you work for 3 hours and maybe go have a lunch, and that's all part of work. And then you go out and you visit people at their offices or canvas neighborhoods or whatever the case may be, and you might be working till 7 or 8 some nights because you're showing properties, but you work around your client's schedule. You don't create that schedule.
Yeah, that's solid advice. So any new agent, really any sales person in sales should listen to that. And I echo your thoughts, and I agree 100% because we work with new agents in our industry and we train. That's a conversation I have as well. As so many of them come in and they compare themselves to seasoned veterans, and I always say, you have no right to, and don't you dare do that, because they've earned the right for their lifestyles or whatever it may be. And they just try to jump in, and they want that from day one without doing any of the backbreaking work. And much like you just mentioned, is the first 3 years you're going to be overworked and underpaid. So you were talking earlier that you work nights, weekends, and all that when you first started in real estate, and you were earning the right to have a business, right? because you're a business owner, so you have a right to build the business, and it doesn't come easy. So I think that is a solid advice, and something that often gets overlooked, because the freedom or luxury of time or making your own schedule is a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That self-accountability piece is a real big bear for some people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people need that clocked in 9 to 5 because they can't hold themselves accountable, which is unfortunate.
I've always had that gift of being able to hold myself accountable, and I have that healthy fear in the back of my head of being broke or having to go get
Right.
a Uber job or something like that, and I just don't want to do that.
And it never goes away, huh?
Yeah, no, it really doesn't,
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm slower, or if I have the foresight to see that I'm going to be slower because of the numbers that I look at every day and what I'm doing and transactions in process, I'm hustling.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still doing open houses. I'm not above anything. I'm out there doing what I need to do. And, I'm thankful that I have so many referrals. Some referrals I don't really want to do, but I'm going to do them because they're from clients that are past clients. And I just want to be their go-to no matter what.
That relationship.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I love your mindset on this.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I agree. You can't be above anything.
Right.
And it's refreshing to see seasoned veterans that are very successful that are still doing the basics that got them there.
Yeah.
I think it's important, and it's refreshing to see, and it's you're setting a good example for others in the industry. So that's great.
Thanks.
Well, what I really want to dive into, and we're going to take a quick break, but obviously these last few years, the real estate market's been absolutely crazy, like crazy. So I really want to touch on that and just hear some of your war stories. But then really where we're at now is shifting with the interest rate environments and what's going on in the markets now. I know there's just a lot of people that really have, myself included, no idea what's going on in the market or where it's going.
Right.
So would love your insight on that. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into all that.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, welcome back. We are sitting here talking with Kevin McDonald. And thank you for sharing kind of your background, your thoughts on the industry, but really sales mindset too. I'm really big into mindset, and Megan knows in our office we're always talking about that and really trying to set the tone, because I think it's just so important about how you go, really about everything in life, but especially work and the way you handle business. So
It is perspective.
absolutely. So I want to touch on, or really get into a conversation of our real estate market. And I know it's really across the whole nation, but we can talk more specifically to our region if you'd like. But, COVID hit, 2-3 years ago. And at that time, I thought, oh goodness, the economy is just going to collapse, is what I thought, right? When everything's shutting down, it made sense, right? From someone that, follows economics, like, okay, this is going to be tough. The exact opposite happened, obviously. I know there was an influx of cash from the government. But big purchases, I didn't think would be greatly affected by that, but they were, right? So I know lifestyle changes and all that occurred, but the real estate market just caught fire. Like, personally, I've never seen it, and I'm 41 years old. And the last couple of years has just been crazy watching people try to get homes, and 20, 40, 60 offers, homes going for hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million over asking price. Waiving contingencies, all these extra bonuses that buyers are trying to incentivize sellers, rent back for a whole year. Whatever it is, it's just been absolutely crazy. So I would love to get your perspective and how exhausting the last couple of years have been. I know you mentioned, and I don't know if you still work with a lot of buyers. It sounds like you do, and sellers. So you probably have perspectives from both being a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. And then I want to transition into kind of where we're at now, because I know this year the rates to fight inflation and all that, the rates have been ratcheting up fairly quickly in the first half of this year. But it seems like it really hasn't slowed the market down significantly. So I'm curious to see where we're at now and where you see it going. So let's first start. I just want to kind of recap of where we're going here. Let's talk about these last couple of years, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
So similar to you, I honestly thought, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find something else to do when COVID hit. I was sitting there, we were locked down, and for about, I'd say maybe a week to 2 weeks, Placer County Association of Realtors said, we have to stop, doing business. And California Association of Realtors said that as well. And, so we weren't showing houses.
So you couldn't even go in someone's house or anything, right?
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of people took their houses off the market, and pulled back or temporarily off the market. And I thought, man, what is going to happen? And I was sitting there in my house, like doing marketing on my computer, throwing stuff out there still, but it's like we weren't allowed to show anything. So it's almost like the virtual stuff. So those 360 tours got really popular, and that was being done. People were buying homes virtually and all that. So when, okay, well, and then we got open back up. And we to at least go show homes, we were deemed necessary, and so we went out there. We were able to show places, and all of a sudden we got a lot more people coming from other markets.
Yeah.
And the ability for people to work from home.
Yep.
Yes.
And income's still there, price is still reasonable. Maybe people thinking, okay, I'm going to capture a deal in this time because of insurity, and people were getting deals and so forth. People still needed to sell, and the supply was rather low still. I mean, it wasn't like it is right now, but it was still pretty low. And especially with people taking their homes off the market, it was like, okay, now we have very little to choose from, but I want to get out of, say, the Bay Area and get to a nice, suburban neighborhood in Lincoln or
quality
Roseville.
of life play, and
Yeah.
they can work remotely. So it was making sense for a lot of these families, better school systems possibly, and all that.
A lot of people that were renting going into home ownership during that period of time, rates were still really low, and it caused this, okay, now the supply is very low and demand is increasing. We went, okay, that's kind of weird. But then that started to spur price increases. We saw this a lot in rural areas too, because people went to extremes. They went from, I am in this high-rise building in downtown San Francisco and thinking, I can't be locked down in this environment, and I need to get to somewhere with nothing around me and
trees.
And so and then they went to these extremes, and some people regretted it.
Yeah, they're like bunker living on 80 acres off the grid up somewhere out in the middle of nowhere like Placerville or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Once the snow season came or whatever.
Yes.
Anyways, I think it's more of a supply and demand issue through this period of time, but we've seen close to 20% increases average year over year for 21, 20 or 20 and 21, and now going into 22 we've seen increases, but I think we're starting to balance. The rates have caused things to slow a little bit, and there's still a supply and demand issue, so there's still not a lot of supply out there.
So that still is really low.
Still is very low.
I wasn't sure on how the stats are right now.
And demand is still there. The thing is, it's slowing a little bit. I know that other markets have slowed as well. So if someone can't sell their home over here, how are they going to buy over here? We're seeing more contingent offers being accepted. We're seeing more renters coming into homes right now, or stable incomes, just buying a home, first home, stuff like that. Whereas, a year ago, we weren't looking at certain types of offers or financing, I should say, as being, doable, or because we had 15 other offers to choose from.
Knew it wasn't going to go,
Now we're looking at, say we'll get 3 offers or whatever. Certain properties, though, will get a ton of attention still. I know East Sac is still hot.
Oh, yeah.
Loomis is still very hot. Granite Bay is still very hot.
Yes.
Just to give a few examples.
Are you still seeing a lot of cash buyers and stuff too? I know that was huge the last couple of years. Where
we're
people
still
like in the Bay Area coming and dropping millions and just paying cash, and the rates
especially-
wouldn't affect them that much because
especially now with rates higher, people are saying, okay, well, I am going to use cash instead, and then wait till rates drop and maybe put a loan on it or something. But with sale prices where they are still in other markets, I mean, we're able to get those cash buyers very easily, especially in some of those higher end markets. I think what's suffering a little bit is that maybe 500 to 800 range. We're seeing those interest rates really affect those buyers and affordability. When your payment goes up from 4 months ago, $700 a month.
just by interest rate, huh?
Yeah, it's like, okay, now we're looking at groceries and gas prices and all that. We're not seeing that trend of panic buying. We're seeing that trend of let's do a little bit of research. Let's see some other places. Let's take a little while to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we are paying this much for a home, let's
Right.
make sure it's the right place.
Is that what you're seeing? So you mentioned the market's 500 and under, and then 5 to 800 is being really affected. So do you guys classify like starter homes really $500,000 and under? Is that kind of really that price point?
Pretty much.
And that's
I mean,
that's still
in
probably
Placer
on fire
County,
no matter what, right? If a house comes on the market at a good
Yeah.
price there, it's still going to attract a lot.
What I've noticed actually is the condition of the home makes a big difference too.
Yeah.
So
Or it used to not, huh? A couple of years ago, it didn't matter at all.
yeah, I mean, you'd have people coming in and doing a lot of repair to homes
Right.
and fully remodeling homes. Well, construction prices are through the roof right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
And then even to get a contractor to call you back,
Yeah,
it's
good luck.
extremely hard. So I think people are taking that into consideration. And if it's stuff beyond minor cosmetics, they're trying to think, okay, is this worth it to, invest 3 months and, $100,000 into this remodel project at
Right.
the price that it's at?
Yeah.
So if things are done and dialed in and, rehabbed and flipped or whatever the case may be, it's going pretty quick.
Fast,
I mean,
yeah.
it's hot and people know they can just move right in. They may do some yard projects or something, but if they like what they've done, have always looked at it the other way, and I try to encourage buyers to look at it that way, is you can get flooring companies and you can almost sub things out yourself, painters, etc., to make it exactly what you want. So if
Right.
they
But
painted
some people just
it,
can't look past that, right?
No,
They
I
see
know.
the colored cabinets and it's like, you're like, no, that can change, but
Yeah.
or paint on the walls or whatever. But
yeah, there's rehab loans. There's all different ways to accommodate your scenario and make this work.
yeah.
Right.
And I have the vision to look past that, and I try to get other people to as well. Sometimes it works, sometimes
Sure.
it doesn't, but
Yeah.
I'm there for them. If they don't feel comfortable with it, then we're going on to the next one, and maybe you pay a little bit more for something that's already done, and you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned that you had people like in high rises that were moving out to like far off in the countries and stuff. And then they realized like when winter came, or it might be scary for them to go outside at night without neighbors and stuff like that. So have you seen a lot of people that have like moved multiple times these last couple of years, like trying to find like, this chair's too big, this chair,
Right.
yeah, fairy
Goldilocks
tales or whatever,
syndrome.
exactly. Where they're almost like, okay, let's really dial us in, and maybe they went too extreme and then they try to pull it back. So you've probably seen people that have moved a few times in the last couple of years for that exact reason, right?
Yep. When you're working from home and you're in the Bay Area and you get this super high speed internet and all that,
Oh, yeah.
and then you move out to, Colfax,
Satellite download.
yeah, and you're,
It's almost as bad as dial-up was.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen people in that circumstance actually go and rent offices, which it's like, okay, now you're doubling up on expenses and all that too. So, but yes, conditions, when you look at something on the internet and you think, oh, this is going to be a dream. And even if you go visit the property and you think, this is going to be a dream, we're ready to do this, and then you live there for a while and you think, okay, this is too much. You're doing fire clearing, you're doing, all this other stuff to the property.
A lot of yard work.
In addition to the rehab that you had to do. But some people have been happy, but I've seen houses come back up 6 months later and they're like,
And you know why?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
and
wasn't
it's-
what you thought it was going to be.
it is what it is.
It's a very
and-
different way of living. You
Exactly.
go from, everything being open until midnight in a Bay Area type of location.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
go out to Placerville or Loomis and everything closes at 8 and they're like, what do we do with ourselves?
Yeah.
Like,
Where's the
very
club?
different. Yeah, exactly. It's a hard
Where's a cold beer?
transition. Yeah.
And then I know like a lot of people moved, like you were mentioning, from the Bay Area here because with COVID, work from home became everything. But I have seen in the news lately that a lot of these tech companies are wanting their employees to come back, right?
Yeah.
Are you seeing a direct reflection or cause and effect in our region here where now those people are like, oh, I thought I was going to be working from home forever to I got to go back now and I don't want to do the 2-hour, 3-hour commute there,
Yep.
whatever, X amount of days a week. Are you seeing now that that's starting to, or not really yet an effect in this area?
I've heard of it as
Okay.
far as I have a client that works at a Bay Area company and they will have to go into the office 2 days a week.
Okay.
And they're going to still do the commute and so forth. But I don't think we've seen the direct effect from it yet. But
Right.
if you're going in 5 days a week,
That'd be miserable.
yeah,
I know some people do
Yeah.
make that commute
Yeah.
for years. I just couldn't imagine.
No,
That's
thanks.
a lot of car time.
it's a lot of
A lot
car
of traffic.
time. And I think it will cause people to move closer
Yeah.
to their place of employment, or resign
Correct.
and get another, job closer.
But they have a sweet spot where they're getting Bay Area pay and then living up here where, housing was a little more affordable.
Yep.
So they got to factor that in too, as they might not be able to replace that income possibly.
But quality of life,
But quality of life, you're absolutely right.
Right.
And there's other positions that people are still allowed to work from home, and I think there's more jobs available than ever before right now. So
Yeah.
I think people will work it out. I don't think it'll have a great effect on this market.
Do you have, like, if you just had just an estimate working with buyers and sellers, what's your personal split? Are you like 50-50? Are you more heavy on the buyers, more heavy on the sellers?
I'm probably 70-30 more sellers to buyers
Okay.
right now. Buyers, I mean, I like working with buyers a lot.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy it, going out and seeing homes and getting them into something. It's a lot more gratifying. Listings pay the bills. I'm really good at them now as far as being able to negotiate and, ways to get top dollar and determining, marketing strategies and so forth. But really, buyers are you have to have
Sure.
both, because when markets shift, if a listing's sitting out there for a while, you have to have buyers to supplement that,
Correct.
and so you just have to keep a balance, I think, and if the market slows even more, it's going to be better to have a heavier percentage of buyers.
Correct. The market's going to shift from an
that-
agent standpoint.
From what the listing agent was, hold all the cards.
Right.
Now it's going to be the buyer's agents are, if the market does shift more,
Right.
buyer's agents are going to be coming in saying, hey,
Yeah.
How
This is
is
what
that-
we want.
From a real estate standpoint, how easy or how hard is it to pivot on that? And the reason why I ask that is I know a number of realtors that have like pretty much said they're exclusively only work with sellers and their whole marketing set up for it. And obviously that's where the money's been the last couple of years, because you'd pull your hair out working with buyers, putting offers in hundreds of homes to try to get one. But if the market shifts where, like you were saying, that it's almost better to be a buyer's agent, is it hard to pivot your business, or is it not really that hard to do from that standpoint?
it takes some time and some effort to determine where your marketing dollars are being spent. And then you have to change that to be directly focused more towards buyers, because listings may come at you a dime a dozen, and you may even say, I don't want your listing because it's they're going to be, overpriced or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So you may be more picky on the listings and then look at the buyers as, okay, this might take a little bit longer, but they may be in control. So when the market shifted before, there were buyers that I worked with for 2 years, and it was because they were looking for a certain thing, and
Right.
they weren't bothering me every day or anything
Sure.
like that, but it was something where we would go out and look at places here and there. The first offer I ever put out for them, I mean, because it was a dead market,
Yeah.
was $150,000 below asking. I mean, they were in the $700,000 range, and that's what they wanted to offer. And we ended up closing on them like two and a half years later, 15,000 above asking.
Yep.
But the market went down that whole time,
Right.
and they knew it. They knew that things were shifting, and
Right.
so I think I don't expect us to get to that point, because supply and demand right now, demand should stay pretty high. We have a lack of housing in California. I think that we're going to balance that out. I don't think we're going to get to a point of significant declines, but
Okay.
you never know. I mean, there's
And with
all-
the interest rates increasing, we're still seeing that strong demand then. Because I would have thought there would be a lot of people that, and there's always a segment of people that are always on the fence thinking, oh, the market's going to crack. And I know these last couple of years, they torch themselves with that mindset because, like you said, that 25 or 20% increase every year,
Yeah.
that house now is, grown by 50% in pricing.
I only kick
But now they're
myself about it
seeing these interest rates and they're like, ooh, now's our time. And so I would think that those people now are going to anchor into their beliefs of, I'm going to wait till the market shifts. But a lot of people that I talk to in the industry really don't think it's going to be a major shift. If any, it's just going to get more back to a normalized market. And that sounds like what you're saying too. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think
Okay.
it's going to be a neutral market.
Okay.
I think we're going to see average days on market maybe closer to 45 days
Okay.
or so. I think we're going to see maybe 3 month supply of inventory.
Is that considered a healthy market, 2 or 3 months? Because we've been at like weeks, right? Just a couple
Yes.
weeks of
Yeah.
inventory. Okay.
Yep. So I think that's considered a healthy market, and we're going to see time for buyers to actually shop
Yeah.
and make decisions. We're going to see repairs being done by sellers. Oh my gosh. Like, can you believe it?
Wow.
Nice.
We're going to see contingencies in offers. You know,
Okay.
we're going to see things that are more normalized for a market. This, 20% over asking and removing all contingencies and all that, I think is going to be limited if any. Now, there's always going to be those listings that are way under market and have a lot of appeal to people that will still go over significantly and so forth. And that it's always going to be the case. But what happens a lot of the time is there's maybe 10% of the homes that 90% of the buyers go after.
Yeah.
Right.
And, then there's the rest,
Right.
so I like to, if I'm looking with someone, obviously they want to see that, but then I try to find other similar type options to say, okay, why don't we just bring this one down and match it, closer without all the competition.
Correct.
So
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Have you already noticed with some of your maybe buyer/sellers, because people that, like contingencies that maybe want to move up or change houses, are you seeing that in their decision now they're weighing kind of that interest rate? Because I could see like me personally, like, oh, I want a different house, but trading out of like a 3 or sub 3 interest rate into a 5, 6, 6, and 8, whatever it is right now, that obviously weighs heavily in the decision is how bad do I want this house? Are you already seeing those conversations with some of your clients right now? Which would, my guess would keep inventory low now because these move up buyers might be locking in for a little bit just to see what's going on with the interest rates.
Yep.
Not so much of pricing.
I've had conversations with people where they bought their home at a great time and they have a ton of equity, but their rate is two in the twos or whatever.
Right.
I've had conversations with them just to keep it and rent it and use that excess cash flow to move into their new house. But keeping that because it's a lower tax rate, lower everything. I mean, it's you can rent it out and make X amount of dollars to go towards. Some people want to do it. Some people don't because, they could destroy the house or whatever.
Yeah, they get stressed about the idea.
I've seen lenders changing loan programs. So going to even 40-year mortgages or adjustable rate mortgages to help offset some of those interest rate concerns. I've seen asking for credits to buy down the interest rate and so forth. So I think a lot of creativity is going to come into being able to help people make that decision and make the move. Because ultimately, if your house is too small for you, it's too small for you.
Yeah.
You need to make a change or you want to make a change.
Sure.
So, it's like that love it or list it. Do you build on to the house and,
Correct.
Or would you rather just have a new neighborhood?
Right.
Yeah, just bite the bullet and just take that extra interest rate.
I think simplifying it in your own head and saying, okay, what do I want to do? What is going to, help my quality of life? And look at the payments, look at the offset. And if you can afford it, let's do it.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's a great way of looking at it. What's looking back these last couple of years, either on the buyer or seller side, what's like the craziest story you were personally involved in from a negotiating standpoint? That either you won the deal or you didn't maybe it was an offer you put in and just how crazy it got or whatever. Do you have any good war stories? Because it's just, I've heard some that are just unbelievable. So I always like to ask that because it's just for pure
Entertainment.
It's just, it's crazy. I couldn't imagine being a realtor the last couple of years. How hard it is to navigate.
It's funny. The last couple of years have been a little easier from the listing side, I should say. But I mean, as far as from the buyer side, if I'm working with a buyer, I've been in competition with 20, 30 offers, and to win that over, certain types of what people are doing with their offers has been just challenging. I mean, I guess most recently, I was with it was a low down conventional buyer. We were up against 17 other offers in Roseville, and communication with the listing agent, knowing the listing agent, and being able to put up terms that were comparable, but we ended up beating out cash offers with with financing terms because of the things we threw in there to make it more appealing. So
I mean, it sounds like you just answered this question I was going to ask, but agent relationships is probably really important during this market because if you have a good relationship with that agent and they're presenting the offers to their client, you might have a leg up knowing that, hey, this guy gets the deals done. He has good clients. You could tell a better story. And also, have you seen like listing? I always thought like if I was selling my house, I would almost, as long as the terms were good or comparable, like you were saying, I would almost shy away sometimes from these investors that are paying all cash. And I'd be like, no, I want to get the person that's trying to get a better home for their family. And I mean, I would. I know some people don't care about that, but do you see a lot of sellers that actually does weigh into it?
It's interesting. I've had a lot of sellers go from an emotional perspective. We're not supposed to do the letters anymore and any of that. But obviously, if the seller meets the buyers, sometimes they feel more compelled to, go with them. As long as there's a balance between the two. I mean,
they're not going to give $100,000 away to do that.
Cash is not always the best. I mean, yes, it's contingent free, or I mean, you still have inspection contingencies though, and they could always come back on stuff like that. But I really do feel like I just had a listing that we accepted an offer with a younger couple, and it was great because they were so motivated, so hungry, and wanted to get in there and do the work to this to make it what they wanted. Well, we had cash offers that were a little bit lower, and they weren't coming up, and they still had the inspection contingencies and so forth, and it wasn't that far where someone could say, yes, let's just take the cash.
Yeah.
Right.
But I explained how, I met this couple at the open house and so forth, and I explained to the seller, these people are probably the buyers for this house, you know, and you can kind of get that feeling with how much communication is going on and how much they're talking about what they're going to do to the home, and
they're emotionally involved also.
Exactly.
So things come up during these inspection periods. You're going to be able to work with them. They're going to overlook it because they're already envisioning themselves living in this house, and like you were saying, that's pretty fantastic.
And it helps that I knew the agent too. Because that connection, it's better on communication. We're not against each other.
Right.
This is a market where we're going to have to work with each other.
Yeah.
We're going to have to share, coming soon listings and stuff like that to reciprocate some things together, and not a lot of newer agents I've seen that they think that we're like enemies, we're fighting each other, and so it's not that at all.
Yeah.
You've been in this business for any time. You all have to work together. You have to go to these networking events to meet other realtors, because that puts you a leg up going forward, presenting offers and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we'll start closing this up, but and I know we've touched on a lot of this, but just kind of a recap of where you think the market's going over the next 12 months. Taking into effect of, I know no one has a crystal ball, but just like, I know you said inventory is still going to stay low. You think it's going to get back to a healthier market, but anything else you want to touch on just from what you're seeing, or what statistics that you guys are being presented in the industry, what some maybe the experts are saying in the industry, just from a prediction standpoint?
I think right now we are going to see rates go up through the end of the year, and possibly into next year.
Do you have an idea of where they're going to kind of get up to?
7-ish.
Okay, so in the 7s. Okay.
I mean, that's my prediction.
Yeah.
Now, this is going off of data and
Correct.
things that have been
I'm not holding you to any of this stuff. It's more just, hey, in your professional opinion or
Come
conversation.
back, Kevin, you were wrong.
Yeah. We'll do a recap video in the beginning of next year. No,
Gotcha on this one.
No,
I think lenders are going to start putting out programs that are going to help offset this. You know, they're going to want to stay busy too. So I think we were talking about a little bit earlier, fire insurance in rural areas. I think rural areas with high fire rates and fair plan and all that, I think they're going to get hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Agreed.
I think if you're in one of those areas and you're not planning on staying there forever, or you really want to talk to your insurance company and
it's a fast increase, like we were talking. It's not coming down anytime soon, so it's going to become more of an issue. And I've always waited for those prices to adjust just based off buying power. So I'll be curious. I think that's really good advice, but continue. Sorry.
I think in the next few years, we are going to see some short sales. We are going to see some possible foreclosures. We're going to see some of that happening because people that bought in these crazy times, if it's leveled out or possibly slowed or gone down a little bit, even if we flatten out, you can't afford to sell your home if you overpaid for it. Right. And if you have to sell for whatever reason, you know, where are you going to come up with the extra money? So I think we're going to see some more of that, and it's not going to be crazy. I think we'll see more inventory. I think people that have been waiting and waiting and waiting to time this market and hit it perfectly are going to say, oh, shoot, rates are going up, and let's list it now. I think we're going to see some overpriced listings too that are sitting out there because of people that are unrealistic and
they're still trying to capture. Everyone else was getting over. I want to get over. Yeah.
Exactly. Right now, I'm prepping sellers for this is what they listed for, and this is where it went. Okay, so you list for $699 and it went to $750. You have to list for $699. You can't list for $750 and expect to get over that. It's not the market for it right now. So trying to be as realistic as possible, and I think that we're going to be fine. I think we will be more normalized though.
Sure.
So
that's good. So it'll be good opportunities for both buyers and sellers then to really get out there and try to dial in without the mass hysteria of something came on an hour. I better put an offer in right now before I even see it. So that's those days are hopefully winding down or on their way out. Where it could be more of an educated process, an informed process.
Recently, open houses slowed down a little bit, so it's people are starting to freak out. I'm on these, chains with other realtors, and they're like, "Hey, how was your open house this weekend?" I was like, 2 people.
Yeah.
Wait.
It'll be nice. I mean, from you, where I know there's been such a boom of real estate agents getting into the industry over the last 5 years. I know, a year or two ago, I saw a stat that there was more active real estate agents in the country than there was active listings at one point. I can't remember what month it was. But I think you're going to see really the seasoned veterans like yourself really kind of navigate and come to a strong point as the market starts shifting. So, well, good. Well, thank you so much for your time. Are we shooting for like a campaign run in 2024, 27? What are we thinking for the mayor?
I'd say
we probably should start
2030.
Okay, we'll get the ground running.
There,
So I have some ideas. I'll shoot from the hip after off the mic here. But hey, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, man. And I'm a big fan of yours. I see you all over social media. So I think you're doing business the right way. And I know you have a solid reputation out there amongst your peers, which I think is an amazing thing when you're in this kind of industry where, like you said, some might consider it competitive. So thank you for joining us. And for any of your friends, he's probably in their pictures because he's tagged everywhere. But thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.